Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over how are we going to be making gold in patch 8.2. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay guys, so today we are going to go over the new features and all that type of stuff that will be coming in patch 8.2 and how this can benefit us going forward in gold making, as obviously at this moment in time BFA is kind of taking a little bit of a dip in gold making at this present juncture at the moment. So hopefully when 8.2 comes out, there'll be an excess of stuff that needs to be bought off of the auction house, and how we're going to best utilize this. So first of all, I'm going to state my game plan after I've covered all of the stuff. So if you want to just stick around till the end, and then I'll go over my game plan for 8.2. Other than that, let's get into the new features. So the first things that I want to cover is the new ore, herbs and skins and cloths, which will be part of the gathering professions. We'll just say gathering in general. So with gathering, there will be a new ore, and that is called osmanite ore, and that will require you to obviously have mining. This will be found in Mechagon and also in Najata. Now, for obvious reasons, we will have flying, so we should be able to pick up a load more if you guys have gotten up to the achievement. Other than that, the new herb that we've got is called Zin Alid, or whatever it's called, blah blah blah. Other than that, that is going to be one of the highly sought after things going forward when it comes to gathering stuff. The herbs are usually in high demand, more higher than the ore, skins and cloth, due to the fact they're used for a wide variety of potions and flasks and all of that stuff, which will be constantly being bought before those crafts. Moving on to our skins, we've got the dredge leather, and I predict that it will at first be at a high price, and then it will slowly trickle down. This will pretty much be the case when it comes to gathering in general, but for skinning more specifically, it will happen a lot more rapidly. So if you are looking to make gold with skinning, I would recommend getting in on it as fast as humanly possible, and then chucking it on the auction house as fast as you bloody well can. But to be honest, in all honesty, I still think herbs would be the top one. Covering the last material that will be introduced in 8.2, and that is the sea weave cloth, and this will be used in tailoring in order to make like new crafted items such as like your robes and your shirts and all that type of jazz, and be sold on the auction house. Now with this one, you'll be able to find this off of humanoid mobs, and to be honest, at this moment in time we don't know any decent farms for this, but if we take into account of the 7.2 patch when we got that light weave like cloth in Legion, it like spiked and then went down, so it'll be the same as skins as well. So it's literally, when it comes to skinning and when it comes in order for cloth, you will need to just get in on it as fast as possible and shove it on the auction house as fast as possible, so that you can try and make as much gold as you possibly can. When it comes to herbs and or ores, this will be one of those ones that will stay steady for a while, and then it will start to tilter off depending on the supply of demand. But judging by what I've seen with the professions, these will stay in high demand for a little bit longer than predicted. Now this is going to be absolutely beneficial for gold making, so if you are focusing on gathering in 8.2, I would highly recommend that you do it with ores and herbs. So for me, I'm probably going to stick with my herbalism and just farm and all of that jazz. But other than that, let's get into the next new features that will be coming into 8.2. Now most of the crafting professions will have an item level 410 and or the 420 crafted gear that you can then craft and then shove those on the auction house. This will be quite beneficial, and personally this is another one that will stay steady for a while at a high price until the supply of demand of the materials starts to tilter off, is when the is when the crafted gear will start to slowly filter off, and then it will adjust itself accordingly towards the materials, because if the material cost, crafting cost drops, then obviously the price of the crafted gear will drop as well, because it will cost less to make, and therefore more crafters will jump in on it, craft more, and then the price will go slowly down. We do have some new enchants that we'll be able to make in 8.2, and to be honest, this is one of the ones that you will want to be doubling down on and stocking up on your enchanting materials, like literally right now, and then holding fire with all of those enchanting materials until the new enchants come out, in which, when they come out, find and learn them as fast as possible, and then start putting them on the auction house at an increased price until they start to adjust. Now, with enchanting, you can still make a profit with this once they have adjusted back down to their baseline levels. So this would be quite a good one in order to do over the long game. So personally, with enchanting, I still think it's actually a very, very viable method in making gold. I just personally don't do it, as I pretty much enjoy doing like inscription and gathering professions, but that's a personal opinion in order for myself. Now, when it comes to alchemy, we'll be covering the new stat potions and flasks. Now, these ones will be in high demand, as obviously the new dungeons and raids will be coming out slowly afterwards, and this will be a great way in order to make a decent amount of gold, because people will be wanting the new flasks and potions in order to buff themselves up as high as they can. For obvious reasons, the new potions and flasks will be in a high demand because of these new dungeons and raids, and they will be great in order to double down on. Now, I would recommend actually doing this with alchemy, because this one will be a very, very steady way in order to make gold, especially combined with your herbalism, as you'll be gathering up the herbs for pretty much nothing and then crafting them into the potions and flasks, and then you'll be able to get a decent amount of gold. Now, for obvious reasons, some of them will require you to do quest lines and or just finding them out in the real world, and I personally would find this to be a great way in order to make gold in general when it comes to alchemy. Moving on to jewel crafting, we'll have some new gems and or rings in order to create and put on the auction house. Personally, with jewel crafting, I find at the beginning of a new expansion or in the center patch, which is the 0.2 of the expansion, I would say that gems are pretty much a good one to double down on, as everyone will be upgrading their gear, and with the new gems in place, you'll want to double this with mining in order to maximize your amount of gold. If you don't want to do that, you can always buy them off the auction house, but you aren't guaranteed to make that gold back, as the prices will drop quite significantly. So I would recommend doing it with mining so you aren't losing as much gold in the long run. Other than that, with the new gems in place, you'll be able to make a steady amount of gold going forward, and you can move on that going into the long game as well, while you're actually mining up the new ores that are in place. Aside from that, creating the rings will still be a good way in order to make gold, but they will take a little bit longer to sell than the gems, but I prefer to do the gems, as you could probably sell more than just the rings. But at the beginning of an 8.2 patch or a new expansion, the rings are in a kind of high demand. I would say medium end, so to speak, mainly because people will be doing the new dungeons for their new rings and all that jazz, and it'd be one of those ones where, oh, my ring sold, but I've sold 10 gems, which makes up for nearly double of a ring. So I would say probably double down on the gems in order to make gold with jewel crafting. Other than that, when it comes to inscription, which I have, I will probably be doing the contracts and the new Vantis runes. The new contracts will be absolutely great in order to get in on, because people will want to get their reputations up to exalted and all that jazz. And when it comes to the Vantis runes, they will just be in a high demand regardless, because they'll be great in order to do your raiding. Now, I personally think that this will be actually a good way in order to make gold, and that is why I'm going to be sticking with my inscription going forward into 8.2. Now moving on to tailoring, the tailoring thing that I would recommend double downing on is the saddle chute, and this is a mount equipment slot, and basically it's a parachute for your mount. And at the end of the day, it would just be a handy thing that people will be buying off of the auction house, because at the end of the day, it will probably be one of those good sellers at the beginning of the 8.2, and that would be because it's brand new. Other than that, if you were going to think about this in the long game, I'd recommend moving over to blacksmithing if you wanted to create mounted equipment slots, as the best one that I think personally is the inflatable mount shoes, and this is another equipment slot for blacksmithing, and this basically gives you the ability to run on water with your mount. And yeah, if you don't already have the water strider, you will not receive a pair of the inflatable mount shoes within the game. So if you have the Crimson Water Strider or any of the Strider mounts that walk on water, you will get one mailed to you at the beginning of 8.2, but if you don't, like me, we will have to buy them off the auction house, and not that many people actually have the Strider mount. I was looking it up and it's like only a very small percentage of people actually have the Strider mount, so to speak. So this will be a great gold making opportunity for blacksmiths. Moving on to profitable things, and what I predict will be one of the highest profitable crafted items is a combination of blacksmithing and engineering. Now when it comes to blacksmithing, the highly profitable item is called the Monolite Reinforced Chassis. Now you'll be crafting this with some expulsum in order to make this chassis. Combined with the engineering one, which is the supercharged engine, you'll be able to make the new mount, which is called the Jewelcrafting ATV. I'm just going to put it on the screen right now because I am having a hard time pronouncing that mount. But at the end of the day, this will be a new mount and definitely will be selling for a lot of gold, and I can't wait, in all honesty. I have been thinking and playing around with, like, should I just go with blacksmithing and engineering, but that would probably be a really bad idea at the beginning of 8.2, so that would probably be later on if I do decide to actually move on to that. Other than that, let's get into my attack plan. My attack plan is very, very simple and very straightforward. As soon as 8.2 comes out, I will go to either Mechagon or Nazjatar, and I will most likely be going to Nazjatar, and I will be herbing and herbing and herbing. And my plan is to document it every single day for the first 7 days on how much I'm actually pulling in. I'm not going to focus on the gold per 1 hour a day for the gold cap challenge. I'm literally just going to farm as much as I can and keep an eye on the pricings and how fast they're dropping, and we'll see if we can predict how much gold can be made within the first week, and see how much gold we could potentially be making in the future going forward. Other than that, I will be doubling down on the contracts and Vantis runes and getting hold of those recipes as fast as I humanly can, because as soon as the new raids come out, and pretty much as soon as the contracts are needed, which will be immediately, I will be shoving those on the auction house for an insane amount of gold, as well as the herbs, and hopefully I can make a shit ton of gold when it comes to 8.2. So my plan's really simple, just herb and craft. Seriously, I'm just going to be herbing for an entire week, then crafting, then posting them on all of it on the auction house, and then see how much gold I get within the first week. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I've got to say for my plan for 8.2. Hopefully this has been a helpful video. And that being the case, guys, have a lovely rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be on Wednesday. Take it easy, guys.